Hey guys, Mr. Macro here. In this video we're going to look at some application problems. So in this first example we're going to take a look at calculating an acid mixture. So we want to figure out how much pure acid must be added to 50 milliliters of a 35% acid solution to produce a mixture that is 75% acid. And here's how this is going to work. We're going to think about making a fraction because percents really come from fractions. So we want to have our milliliters of pure acid. I'm going to put that on the top of my fraction. And then on the bottom, we're going to have the total milliliters of our mixture. And that fraction, when we do the division, we want that to equal our concentration. So as we're looking at what we've currently got, we were told that we had a 50 milliliter mixture, and that was 35% acid. So if I take the 50 milliliters times 0.35, that means we currently have 17.5 milliliters of pure acid. So if I'm building this fraction, I would take the 17.5, put that on top. Now on bottom we've got the total milliliters of our mixture, and right now we've got 50. But we're going to be making some adjustments to these numbers because we want to mix in some pure acid so that we can up the concentration. Now we don't know for sure how much we're going to be adding yet, but we are adding some amount of pure acid, 100% acid. And I'm just going to let X represent my milliliters of pure acid. So I'm going to add some pure acid on the top, but also when I add in this pure acid, that's increasing the total amount of milliliters that I've got. And because it's 100% pure acid, the milliliters of acid is going to be the exact same as the milliliters that I'm adding to my mixture. Now here, when we do this division, when we add in that extra pure acid, we want to end up with a 75% concentration. Now there's two different ways that I can solve this. We could go through and do some multiplication with this 50 plus x on bottom and multiply that over to the other side and work on solving this equation algebraically, but I'm actually going to do this one graphically. So in my calculator I actually have two equations typed in. So I have the 17.5 plus x over the 50 plus x, and we're trying to get up to 75%, which is 0.75. So I've got both of those typed into my calculator. Graphically, we're going to be looking for where our two graphs intersect. Now I am going to adjust my window because my y value is dealing in percents, but percents as a decimal only go up to 1. So I'm going to make my y max only go up to 1, and I'm going to set my y minimum at 0. I'm also going to extend my x max out to 200. Now when I hit graph, we get a picture that looks something like this, and we're trying to figure out where these intersect. So I'm going to go second calc, and I'm going to pick option number 5, intersect. Now I make sure that I'm on my first curve, so I'm on my blue line. I hit enter. I make sure that I jumped over to my second curve, which is my red line. I hit enter. I can take a guess, but I don't have to. I can just hit enter one more time. And this tells me that they intersect at an x value of 80. And remember, our x value stood for the milliliters of pure acid that we would need to add in here to get our 75% mixture. So we need 80 milliliters of pure acid to mix in here to get our 75% concentration. Next example we're going to take a look at is finding a minimum perimeter. So we want to find the dimensions of a rectangle with a minimum perimeter if its area is 200 square meters. So we've got ourselves a rectangle with a length and a width, and its area is 200 square meters. Now we know that area equals length times width, but we should also know that perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Now I'm actually going to work on a way to combine these two separate equations. And what I'm going to do is in my area formula, I'm going to solve for one of my variables. And it doesn't really matter which one, so I'm just going to solve for the w. And in order to do that, I would have to divide the length over to the other side. So I would get the width of my rectangle equals the area divided by its length. Now we know what the area of our rectangle is. It's 200. So I can fill in the 200 on the top for my area, but I don't know what my length is. Now what I'm actually going to do with this is I'm going to take this 200 over L, and because that's what W is equal to, in my perimeter equation, I'm going to plug this stuff in for W. So I would get the perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times 200 over the length. And if I multiply by the 2 is technically over 1, so I would get 2 times the length plus 400 over the length. And I'm actually going to use my calculator to help me solve this one. So in my calculator, I have that equation typed in. Now I have to use x's in there instead of l's. I do need to adjust my window, so I'm going to hit my window button. For my x min and x max, I'm going to go from 0 up to 50. And for my y min and y max, I'm going to go from 0 up to 150. Now when I hit graph, I'll get a picture that looks something like this. We're trying to find the minimum value in here. So I'm going to go second, trace, and I'm going to pick option number 3, minimum in there. Now it looks like the minimum is happening somewhere down here. So if I do my left bound point, I click left until I go past that value. I'll hit enter, and then I need a right bound point as well. So I'll hit enter over there. I can take a guess, but I don't have to. I can just hit enter one more time, and we get a minimum x value of 14.14 and a minimum y value of about 56.57. Now that x value was representing the length of our rectangle, and our y value is representing the perimeter. So we said that the length of our rectangle was going to be about 14.14 meters. We can find the width of our rectangle as well. If I take 200 divided by 14.14, I get a width that's also about 14.14 meters, telling me that my rectangle is actually a square, since both the length and the width are exactly the same. And with these length and width of 14.4, we said that the perimeter was going to be about 56.57 meters, and we already know that the area is 200 square meters. That's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching.